I went back to the year when the psycho villain was at his lowest point. I saw him spend 50 cents to buy half a hot dog to feed a stray cat. The system started screaming, "Host, run. He's the psycho villain who will imprison you in the future." Imprison me? I laughed coldly. He can't even afford a whole hot dog. The system continued seriously. Don't let his current situation fool you. In 2 years, the Harrison family will take him back as their second son, and he'll control billions in assets. Get you? They'll cause a car accident to kill the male lead, then force you to death. They'll follow you in self-murder too. I ignored the system's chatter and walked toward the psycho villain. I have cats at home too. Can you help me feed them? 10,000 a month? The psycho villain stayed silent. The system screamed frantically in my ear. What? 10 grand for feeding cats? Host, are you running a charity? Why would a psycho villain do this kind of work? Let me do it instead. I ignored the system and continued tempting the psycho villain. Room and board included. You can sleep in the same room as the cats. Besides feeding the cats, you can do other things. How about it? His hair was a bit long. His skin is sickly pale white. His clothes were so dirty, you couldn't tell their original color. Only his eyes stood out, black and bright. His Adam's apple moved slightly as he spoke one word. Okay. I clapped my hands in satisfaction and stood up, looking down at the little white cat in front of him. Bring this one too. I brought the psycho villain and the cat back to my house. As soon as we entered, my 2 cats pounced on my legs. I crouched down to pet them for a while, before remembering the psycho villain. Looking back, he was still standing outside the door. I waved at him. Gomein. He pressed his lips together and said quietly, I'll dirty your floor. I found him a pair of new slippers and handed them to him. As soon as he walked in, both cats came over to sniff him. He immediately froze, not daring to move. I grabbed both cats by the scruff of their necks and introduced them. My babies. The ragdoll is Prince and the calico is Night. Then I looked at the one in his arms. Give this cat a name. He spoke slowly. Can I really name it? I raised an eyebrow. You found it. You're responsible. He gently stroked the kitten's head, stayed silent for a while, then said a name. Lucky. I nodded as if I understood and praised. Name? What about you? I asked him. He was slightly stunned before realizing I was asking about him. My name is Ryan. I nodded to show I remembered. Then I commanded the man and cat. You two go take a bath. You need to be squeaky clean before getting on the bed. Ryan obediently carried the kitten to the bathroom. I sat on the couch drinking juice while waiting, with the system chattering in my ear. Host, why did you bring him home? He's a psycho villain. You can still regret this. Kick him out and let me help you find the male lead. I stared at the bathroom. He seems pretty handsome. The system scoffed. He's nowhere near as handsome as the male lead. It showed me a photo of the male lead. I glanced at it. He was indeed handsome, but not my type. When Ryan came out after his bath, I called him over. I reached out and brushed away the hair from his forehead, finally seeing his face clearly. A pair of seductive peach blossom eyes with a mole at the corner, a high nose bridge, and soft pink lips. I was completely stunned. The system said helplessly, all right, I get it. You're all about looks. I muted the system and admired him a bit longer, until he felt embarrassed under my stare, and turned his head away, his ears turning red. I coughed lightly and quickly looked away, telling him go rest. Ryan nodded, and went to the room I arranged with the next morning, I woke up to see Ryan feeding the cats. 3 cats surrounded him, eating happily. I walked over and petted their heads. Such good babies. Then out of habit, I reached toward his head, but Ryan suddenly dodged. The system mocked in my ear, see? He won't let you pet him. How could a psycho villain's head be so easy to touch? But the next second, Ryan moved his head back over. I naturally petted him once. It felt amazing. You're a good boy too. Then I went to cook. Ryan was about to leave while I was cooking, but I called him to eat together. He was stunned for a while before returning to sit in the dining room. I got him a bowl and chopsticks. Eat more. Ryan didn't speak, just buried his head and ate frantically. I hadn't finished one bowl when he was already on his third. The system complained again. He eats so much. Aren't you afraid he'll eat you out of house and home? I smiled while resting my chin on my hand. Why worry? He'll be rich in 2 years. The system collapsed. You're playing with fire, woman. When the male lead gets stolen by the second female lead, you'll regret it. Ridiculous. I'm the female lead. Whoever I choose becomes the male lead. After eating, Ryan consciously went to wash the dishes. He cleaned the entire kitchen, inside and out. When he finished, he stood at the kitchen door and asked, Can I go out? I nodded. Sure, but you need to come back on time to feed the cats. He nodded and left with the trash. I also grabbed a jacket and went out. After graduating college, I opened a hot pot restaurant. Business hasn't been good lately, and it's about to close down. I sighed and asked the system, Is 10,000 a month too much? The system ignored me. When I came home that evening, Ryan was already back feeding the cats. I went over to take a look and reached out to pet the cat. After petting the kitten, I reached out to pet Ryan. He didn't refuse. I smiled with satisfaction and pulled out another kitten from behind me. Seeing the cat in my hands, he was stunned. I tossed the cat to him. Just found this one. You're responsible. Ryan held the kitten and cleaned it with skill, gentle movements. Since it was a baby kitten, it could only drink milk. He got up to prepare formula, then held the kitten to feed it. The kitten obediently stretched out its paws to hold the bottle. and drank happily. I couldn't resist reaching out to pet the kitten. Some milk got on my finger, and the kitten stuck out its tongue to lick. It tickled, making me laugh. Unconsciously remembering how I petted Ryan's head earlier, and how he didn't seem to mind. So I impulsively reached my finger toward his mouth. Ryan was stunned, his pitch black, bright eyes looking at me. I felt a bit embarrassed and started to pull my finger back. But then Ryan lowered his head next my fingertip. Felt warm and wet. I was stunned for several seconds. He actually licked it. System screamed in my ear again. A host. What are you doing? Is this still a psycho villain? In the original story, he was super suspicious and ruthless. He must be pretending to make you lower your guard. Don't be fooled by him. I straightened up and went back to my room, trying to stay calm. Lying on the bed, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, doubting whether Ryan was really a psycho. But he seemed so well behaved, and my fingertips still felt the lingering warmth. Just as I closed my eyes, I suddenly heard the door creak open. I could feel him come in step by step. He walked to the bedside and stopped. All my hair stood on end, and I even lightened my breathing. His scent entered my nose. Green grape fragrance. Same as the cat shampoo. It was Ryan. Then he suddenly lowered his head. His cheek nuzzled mine like a kitten. I suddenly opened my eyes and called Ryan. He looked at me and nuzzled again. Ryan. I called again. He suddenly responded meow. I was stunned and almost laughed out loud. He seemed to be sleepwalking. I tentatively asked, "What are you doing?" Ryan didn't speak, just nuzzled me with his face. I was somewhat amused. He actually thought he was a cat. I couldn't resist reaching out to pet his head. Ryan didn't dodge, squinting like a kitten and nuzzling my hand with his head. I pinched his face, my finger sliding to his neck, his collarbone. Ryan lay there obediently letting me touch him. But when my finger slid to his ABS, he suddenly arched his back. When Ryan arched his back, the illusion of the docile kitten shattered instantly. The muscles under my fingertips went rigid, hard as stone. His eyes snapped open. There was no haziness of sleep in them. No meo. Just a sharp, predatory alertness that sent a shiver racing down my spine. The system screeched in my head like a banshee. Host. Danger. He's awake. He's going to strangle you. Ryan stared at me. I stared at him. My hand was still resting on his abs, which were, admittedly, very nice for someone who lived on half a hot dog yesterday. His voice was hoarse, stripping away the cat-like innocence. I thought you were a cat, I suggested, trying to retract my hand slowly. He grabbed my wrist. His grip was firm, his fingers long and cool. I thought I was dreaming, he whispered, his gaze dropping to my lips. I dreamt someone finally wanted me. The vulnerability in his voice silenced the system. I felt my heart skip a beat. Not out of fear, but something softer. I do want you, I said, my voice steady. To feed the cats. Ryan blinked, the intensity fading into a flush of embarrassment. He released my wrist and scrambled backward off the bed, tripping over his own long legs. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be here. Go back to sleep, Ryan, I said, pulling the duvet up to my chin to hide my own flustered state. And tomorrow wear a shirt. The cats have claws. He stood in the darkness for a moment longer, a silhouette of sharp angles and hidden depths, before silently retreating. 2 weeks passed. The psycho villain turned out to be the best employee I'd ever had. The cats worshipped him. The apartment was spotless. But my hot pot restaurant, the spicy pot, was dying. We're in the red again, I sighed, slamming the ledger shut on the dining table. Ryan was sitting on the floor, grooming Lucky with a brush. He paused. Is it the flavor? No. Yearwhen. It's the location. And the marketing. And the fact that the male lead, the local business tycoon's son, opened a high-end seafood buffet across the street. The system chimed in. That's Alex. The male lead. You should go ask him for help. It's the perfect enemies to lovers setup. I can fix it, Ryan said quietly. I looked down at him. You know how to run a restaurant? I know numbers, he said, focusing on the cat's fur. And I know people. They don't want food. They want an experience. The next day, Ryan came to the restaurant with me. I tried to make him wear a waiter's uniform, but he refused, opting for a crisp white shirt and black trousers I'd bought him. He didn't look like a waiter. He looked like a fallen prince. He changed the menu layout. He adjusted the lighting. He stood at the front, not greeting people with a loud welcome, but with a mysterious, cool nod that seemed to drive the female college students crazy. Within 3 days, revenue doubled. Who is that guy? A customer whispered to me. He looks like an idol. He's the cat sitter, I whispered back. On Friday night, the trouble arrived. Alex, the so-called male lead, walked in. He was handsome in a generic, aggressive way, wearing a suit that cost more than my car. So this is the little shop stealing my overflow traffic, Alex sneered, looking around. His eyes landed on Ryan, who was wiping a table with elegant precision. And you hired a beggar? I saw this kid eating out of a trash can last month. The restaurant went quiet. Ryan froze. His knuckles turned white on the rag. The system panicked. Oh no. The villain's humiliation arc. This is where he snaps and stabs someone with a chopstick. Host, intervene. I didn't need the system to tell me that. I slammed a pitcher of plum juice onto the counter. Hey, issue that, moshing over. I stood between Alex and Ryan. Get out. Alex scoffed. Excuse me? I'm trying to buy this dump. I'll give you. I don't care who you are, I interrupted, poking Alex in the chest. You don't talk to my staff like that. He's not a beggar. He's my partner. Ryan's head snapped up. Alex laughed. Partner? He's trash, honey. The Harrison family threw him out like garbage. Then the Harrison family is blind, I spat. Now get out before I call the cops. Alex glared, humiliated in front of the crowd, and stormed out. I turned to Ryan. He was trembling. Not from fear, but from a suppressed rage that made the air around him feel heavy. Ryan, I said softly. He looked at me, his eyes red-rimmed. Why did you do that? He's right. I am. You are the guy who makes my cats purr and save my business, I said, grabbing his hand. Let's go home. I'll make you hot pot. That night, the system was strangely quiet. But as I slept, I didn't see Ryan sitting by the window, staring at the building across the street where Alex lived, plotting a destruction so total it would leave no ash behind. 6 months later, everything changed. I came home early to find the apartment empty of cats, but full of voices. Sell at 45. Short the logistics stock. Now, the voice was cold, authoritative, and terrifying. It came from my bedroom. I pushed the door open. Ryan was sitting at my desk, surrounded by 3 monitors he must have bought himself. He was wearing a headset, typing furiously. He saw me and ripped the headset off. The cold tycoon vanished, replaced by the panicked boy. I can explain. You're day trading? I asked, looking at the screens. The numbers were staggering. Is that $2 million? Ryan swallowed hard. I needed to make sure you didn't have to close the shop. And I wanted to buy premium cat food. $2 million buys a lot of tuna, Ryan. He stood up, walking toward me. He had grown taller, broader. The sickly pale skin was now a healthy porcelain, and his hair was trimmed. He looked dangerous. It's not enough, he said intensely. The Harrisons are coming for you. What? Alex told his father about you. They think you're the reason I haven't crawled back to them begging for scraps. They're planning an accident for your supply truck tomorrow. The system finally woke up. He knows. How does he know the plot? Host, this is a bug. How do you know? I asked. Ryan stepped closer, trapping me against the doorframe. Because I tapped their phones. Because I hacked their servers. I told you, I'm not a good person. He leaned down, his face inches from mine. I am a psycho. Isn't that what you call me in your head? I gasped. You can hear the system? I don't know what a system is, Ryan murmured, his hand sliding up to cut my cheek, his thumb brushing my lip. But I hear you mumbling to thin air. And I know you think I'm a villain. He rested his forehead against mine. If being a villain means burning the world to keep you safe, then I'll accept the title. Ryan, I breathed. You don't have to burn the world. Just maybe scorch the Harrison family a little bit. He let out a low, dark chuckle that vibrated through my chest. As you command. The Harrison Family Gala was the social event of the year. Alex was set to be announced as the official heir. I walked in wearing a red dress that cost more than my entire restaurant, paid for by Ryan's cat fund. Ryan was beside me, wearing a bespoke tuxedo. He looked like a god of vengeance. Host, we shouldn't be here, the system whimpered. The plot says you die tonight. The chandelier is supposed to fall on you. Not on my watch, I muttered. We walked into the ballroom. The room went silent. The illegitimate son, the trash, had returned. Mr. Harrison, a bloat of a man, marched over. Who let you in? Security. I own the security company, Ryan said calmly. He snapped his fingers. The guards turned their backs on Mr. Harrison and faced the crowd, protecting us. And, Ryan continued, pulling a remote from his pocket. I own the debt on this building. And 51% of your company's voting shares as of. He checked his watch. 5 minutes ago. Alex surged forward. You lie. Dad, he's lying. The projector screen behind the stage flickered to life. It wasn't a tribute video for Alex. It was a compilation of dashcam footage, bank transfers and emails, evidence of embezzlement, hit-and-run accidents, and the planned sabotage of my restaurant. The crowd gasped. Phones came out. You're finished, Ryan said, his voice void of emotion. You wanted me to be a monster? Fine. I ate you whole. Mr. Harrison clutched his chest, collapsing into a chair. Alex tried to run, but the police were already waiting at the doors. Ryan didn't watch them. He turned to me, his eyes searching mine for fear. Are you afraid of me? He asked. I looked at the chaos around us. The villain had won. The male lead was in handcuffs. The plot was destroyed. I smiled and adjusted his bow tie. You missed a spot on your collar. Cat hair. Ryan let out a breath he seemed to have been holding for years. He grabbed me and kissed me, right there in the middle of his ruined legacy. It was possessive, desperate, and tasted like victory. We returned home to the quiet apartment. The cats were asleep. Ryan sat on the couch, loosening his tie. He looked exhausted. The adrenaline of revenge had faded, leaving just the boy I had picked up off the street. What happens now? He asked. I have billions. I have the company. But I still just want to feed the cats. I sat next to him, resting my head on his shoulder. So hire a CEO, be the chairman, and stay home. The system pinged in my ear, sounding resigned. Mission failed. The male lead is in jail. The villain has conquered the world. But the host survival rate is 100%. Happiness index, 100%. Fine. You win. I'm leaving to find a host who actually listens. Goodbye. The static noise in my head vanished. For the first time since I arrived in this world, it was just me. Ryan, I said. The voice in my head is gone. He wrapped his arms around me, pulling me onto his lap. He buried his face in my neck, inhaling deeply. Good. I didn't like sharing your attention. You really are a psycho, I teased, running my fingers through his hair. Only for you, he mumbled, closing his eyes. Now pet me. I laughed and obliged. Epilogue. 3 years later. The hot pot restaurant was still open, though now it was more of a hobby. It was famous worldwide as the place where the elusive billionaire Ryan Harrison washes dishes on weekends. We lived in a massive estate, but the bedroom was cozy, filled with cat towers. I woke up to the sound of rain. Ryan was already awake, propped up on one elbow, watching me sleep. Morning, he whispered. Morning. He looked serious. Lucky is pregnant. Again. I groaned. We need to get them fixed. I was thinking. Ryan traced the line of my jaw. Maybe we should expand the family too. I raised an eyebrow. You want a puppy? Ryan smirked, that dangerous, charming smile that had brought the business world to its knees. No. I was thinking of a human. One that looks like you. I pulled him down for a kiss. Only if you promise to change the diapers. I run a global empire, Ryan said against my lips. I think I can handle a baby. Narrator's note. He could not handle the baby. He fainted the first time he changed a diaper, but he was an excellent father nonetheless. And so, the psycho villain and the girl who bought him a hot dog lived happily ever after, ruling the world one cat treat at a time.